Welcome to Coffee and Commercial, your source for positive, caffeinated information, inspiration, and motivation. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Ganuardina from Remax Top Producers Commercial.
And I'm Carlos Asensio from Remax Top Producers Commercial.
And we have in studio today Mr. Pablo Moreno from the Financial Architects, Mr. Ambitious Fits himself. Welcome to the studio.
Welcome, Pablo.
Man, thank you guys so much, man. I wish you guys could really see the behind the scenes here. You guys are really doing it big time. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with the coffee first.
Okay.
So, Carlos, if you can tell us what you have for us today.
Well, I kind of thought I'd bring everyone one of my favorite coffees. I usually get the vanilla latte with less sweetener on there, also accompanied with oat milk. It's very good. It's my all-time favorite. Every time I go down there, whether it's warm or cold, you can have it either way, but it's good. So,
you know what's funny is you guys are kind of taking me back to my roots. Growing up, my mom's side of the family, we're all Cuban, so when we were little, my mom would put the little what's it called? We call it chupon, right? In the Cuban coffee, and she'd stick it in our mouth. So I'm used to it, man. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. I'll still drink coffee.
That's right.
I appreciate it.
Well, for me, I think this would be my third cup. So.
Okay. Oh man, I love it. Well, yeah, guys, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and shout out to Clatch for the coffee for sure. Thank you.
Only the best coffee in Chino Hills right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have you on here. We've known each other for some time now. Got to see your growth. You just had the World Shakers Conference. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, man. Honestly, it was almost kind of like a dream come true, if I'm being honest. Like I've been telling everybody, it's been something that, I mentioned it at the actual conference, is that, over the last 5 to 6 years, I've been on this journey of like self-development and entrepreneurship and really just embodiment and learning about not only myself, but really learning about so many different industries, from real estate, financial services, fitness, right? And when I started traveling throughout the United States, I've gone to Miami, Florida, all over California, San Diego, right? And I started seeing all these great speakers, right? Mm-hmm. Very influential and motivational entrepreneurs. And I was like, man, like these guys are able to make impact in other people's lives, not only from a business standpoint, but just from a inspirational standpoint.
Yeah.
And when I started going to a lot of these events, there was one specific event that just really just stood out to me, and it was a 10X Growth Con in Miami. Mm-hmm. I think I went about 3 or 4 years ago.
Is that the one with Grant, right?
With Grant, yeah. So when I went to that one, I was like, man, like this guy really knows how to like put on not only an event, but he knows how to impact lives. Like people were crying, people were like, man. And I've always heard, from a mentor of mine, is when you can make somebody laugh and cry within 5 minutes on stage, you're going to be able to impact their lives. And no matter what it is that you tell them, they're going to be able to do it.
And he usually has like a lot of big people, like Snoop Dogg was there from what I've heard. Kevin Hart. Yep. But he's got like a lot of people that actually follow him more for, the motivational stuff that he does.
Yeah. And that's something that impacted me, right? Because I've always been I unintentionally, I felt like I kind of grew up in the personal development space. I mean, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I went to 2 different military schools about 7 years when you add them both up. Wow. So personal development for me at a young age was something that I was very fortunate. It was almost kind of like a blessing in disguise. We could get into that a little bit later, but personal development for me was, that was my upbringing. So then when I was able to now travel and continue to learn this on a different platform, being business, I was like, man, I'm all in. So the World Shakers Conference was almost a journey that I've been on for, like I said, maybe about 6 years, attending all these events and networking. I mean, you guys are in business. You guys understand, right? Picking up all the different lingo of, different industries.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I've been able to build all these relationships, and I think God just gave me the opportunity to finally open up those doors. And yeah, we decided to just kind of go for it. I hit up my team and I was like, hey, I know this sounds kind of weird and kind of odd, but we're going to throw a conference called the World Shakers Conference. And this is a vision. This is what I want to get done. These are the speakers we want to try to invite. This is really the psychology behind it. You know, obviously we're keeping it 100, right? Yeah. We're going into a recession. When that happens, people start looking for opportunity. Then depression hits, health goes down, divorces go up. So really, like, the World Shakers Conference and that movement, which is now going to be a business, it's going to be an annual event, is going to be, you know, how could we impact people spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially? And that's really what I'm about, and that's what the World Shakers Conference was all about. So it was great.
You know, and the way you explained it earlier right now, it's like, I think that you have all the correct pillars, because sometimes people do it the opposite. They work, you know, first their financials, and then they work on themselves last. But I think in reality, it's like, you know, you planting the seed, you're watering the seed, and it grows into a tree. So you got to first work on yourself in order for you to, you know, to get to that top level of success, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the conference that you guys did, I can guarantee that it shook a lot of people. Because right now, the way I see things is like, people have to start getting ready for what's to come. So they have to be mentally strong, you know, because right now, the people that are not mentally strong or are not ready to prepare themselves, they're just going to fall into some crazy situations.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the money. We were just talking about it right before we went live. And you know, what I like to tell everybody, I mean, I tell this to our team all the time, is, guys, entrepreneurship it's an inside out approach. You know, it starts from within.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately what you're carrying inside, whether that be shame, guilt, you know, happiness, whatever it is, whatever emotions you have inside of you, is ultimately going to be a reflection of your family life, right? Your love life, your business, your brand, whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I completely agree with you, Carla. It's an inside out approach.
It's like when I recall the moments when my dad was here. I was 17 and I was talking to him about wanting to open up my own business, right? So at that time, I was like scared, but my dad at that time sat me down. He's like, you shouldn't be scared. He's like, you should be scared of walking out that door, going to school, or, you know, going about your day. You can die. A car can hit you. A plane can fall on you. So what's the difference between you going out, going to school, or doing what you got to do versus opening up a business? You have to take that chance. And if it doesn't go well, don't worry. You can pick yourself back up and do it a different way, you know?
Yeah.
So he always kind of pushed us to make sure that don't be scared of doing something that you want to do to, you know, to grow in life, right?
Yeah.
So as a young kid, I was always like, you know what? I have an idea. I'm going to put it to work. We were always taught that don't be scared of taking that next step, you know?
Yeah, and I think even during a recession, I think it's interesting because a recession exposes that we have no control over these extenuating circumstances, right? Like none of us could control the stock market. None of us could control the housing market, right? So what happens is when you can't control the outward, you have to look inward to see about what you can change inside. And so that's kind of what we have been doing, is kind of growing our skill set, growing our toolbox, offering more services, self-improvement, so that we can be better for our clients, be better for our families, and then be a better representative of what we want to be in the world. And I think right now you've seen a resurgence in church attendance. You've seen a resurgence in people attending conferences. We just went to that Connecting Faith and Business conference that AMPAC put on. The last one was 2019. Didn't know how the crowd was going to be at the event. Well, it ended up more people showed up than bought tickets in advance. They had to bring in more tables to allow for more people. So what it shows is people are looking for, what's that secret ingredient to get me through this recession.
I call it, I love that because I call it the X factor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every team, every champion, I like to refer a lot of things to sports, right? Every team, every championship team has to have an X factor. For us, that X factor, believe it or not, is faith.
Yeah,
that's
right.
true.
And I want to go back to what you said. Fear, right? Part of our brand, Ambitious Fits. We have a line that says, we have a shirt that says fearless, right? But we intentionally broke it up because, let's be honest, we're all going to have fear.
Yeah.
At some point, like we could all be human.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the goal with that shirt and that movement, it's a mentality, is just to fear a little bit less every single day. Now, if we could take on the mentality of just, you know what, let me kind of jump a little bit further today. let me take that extra step. Let me make that one more phone call, right? We were talking about phone calls. Let me pick up that one more, who knows what is going to be on the other side of that call.
Yeah.
Right. And when we move with that type of mentality, now you start to do something called habit stacking.
Yep.
And you start to increase that mentality. 100% people are going right now towards personal development. And unfortunately, a lot of people will be exposed, but a lot of people will also, I think the right people will start to appear in the right businesses. The right opportunities, the right doors will start to open. Right? We say it all the time in our office is a high tide raises all boats.
That's right.
So when you start to surround yourself with those leaders, with those motivators, right? With those people that go inward. That's why I love hanging out with you guys, right? Because you guys are people that are going inward all the time. Not only just on business and development, but on faith. And faith is that X factor that we were talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People are looking for substance. Prior to the recession, the cribs, clothes, and cars was the grab. Now people want more. People want, okay, let's put that aside. What else do you have? What do you have that's going on inside of you? What's that substance? Because for me, the confidence that I go into every day is that I know that the Bible says, greater is he that's in me than he who's in the world. So I know that whatever comes against me, I can overcome it. And at the end of the day, no one but God has a heaven to put me in or a hell to send me to. So as long as I'm good with God, I can face any adversity that I come up against. And so once you have that confidence, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, how many times you fail. It's just a learning experience. You pick yourself back up and you go to the next experience. Yeah. But you have to have that resolve. And that's what we've seen even in the commercial industry is these entrepreneurs that are willing to take a risk on themselves. They'll bet it all. If they're going to bet anything, they'll bet on themselves to come out of this recession with a successful business.
Yeah, it's like for me, like I would always say, it's like, you have to embrace the fear in order to become stronger. Because for me, it's like I'm always the type of guy that, I'm not scared of the dark. I will go in there, but I will battle it out to get to the light. Because in reality, it's like that's what we're all facing right now. We're all facing that darkness that's about to come, but we got to get ready to walk right through it.
I love how we're vibing right now because that's 100%. Alignment's huge, and I align with that message because, again, I've been going through this journey, right, of just going inward more, and really just not focusing on the external. But it's funny because when does a light shine the brightest?
Yeah, in
times of darkness.
It's in the dark, and that's what people don't understand, and they don't.
You got to go through that darkness in order to get to the light. You got to transcend to the underworld, right, in order to get to heaven, right? Like that's just how it is. That's how anything is. Yeah. And when you go inward and you start going through the darkness, you're really going to be revealed who you truly are.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I love that.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
Faith that's not tested is not really faith. So you have to go through those trials, those tribulations. If you talk to anybody that's in the older generation that's been through some things, okay, their confidence is based upon the fact that they've been through some stuff. So the more things that you go through, the more that challenges that you face, I look at it as, you're heading in the right direction. If you're hitting adversity, you're probably going in the right direction. Yeah. And so you're pushing and expanding your territory, and that requires sometimes some pain and some difficulty. Yeah. So I say embrace it so you can grow, level up. And I know you're into working out. Yeah. If you're not in pain, you're not working hard enough, right?
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like, people ask me, like, I'm about to be 28, right? I'm 27 years old, doing a bunch of things, right? And people ask me all the time, like, Pablo, how have you got to this? But I'm just like, fail often and fail early.
Yep.
I'm not failing intentionally, but I want to fail as often as I can now because I'm going to learn from those things. Obviously, I don't want to fail on purpose. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Right. But take the risk.
But that's the best education, though.
That's how, talking about fitness, right? Yeah. Like, how does a muscle grow? By tearing it. You have to tear the muscle apart because it's going to go back stronger.
That's how it's going to expand and just get stronger in all the right places, though. Yeah. But it's like, again, it goes back to the mental stages, Yeah. And plus who you hang around with, too.
That's huge.
Because, like, right now, there's going to be a lot of people are going to be like, oh, man, I got to change my circle of friends, Yeah. And I've got friends that I can say like, oh, from way back then that I'm like, oh, you know what, I can't hang out with them, or hey, you know what, I can hang out with these new people that we met. But then I'm like, no, but because right now for me, it's more about the mission of myself, right? So that I can grow and have everyone around me grow. But at the same time, we just got to make sure we have the right circle.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, again, and for some people, they may be listening to this and they may be thinking, well, that's a little selfish, right? Yeah, but
not selfish.
I like to I like to put it this way: is you're on an airplane, right? And they say if anything happens, what do they say? The masks are going to drop down. I always say this story. What do they say? Put your mask on first and then help the people next to you. You got to help yourself first, and then you start elevating everybody around you. Yep. And also be very, especially during these times, right? Times of adversity, be very cautious with who you surround yourself with, because you want to be around people that are there. If you have 10 stories, I'm willing to sacrifice 2 or 3 stories, maybe 4 stories to bring you up with me. It's about elevating the people around you.
Yep.
Right? Not taking stories away from you to make mine higher. Right? I'd rather be in downtown where all the buildings are high, right? All the commercial buildings are high.
There you go.
Right? Shout out commercial, right? But again, who you are around with has a major impact on your outcome.
It's true.
And so how does that foundation that you have, how does that inform how you go about doing your business? And we can start off with financial architects, or we can start off with ambitious fits, but well, how does that kind of give you that foundation?
Give people an idea of what the services of what you do, at the same time.
I like to tell people, I help people spiritually by being an evangelist. I I'm always inviting people to, whether it be a worship night or, a service or something like that. Mentally, I'm all about personal development, right? So if there's some way that I could help you, maybe you're in a rut and I could bring you up a little bit, right? Or whether that be physically, right? Ambitious Fit started off by being a personal training brand. It's evolved now into really just more of a mentorship program and helping other entrepreneurs become the best versions of themselves, or whether it be, financially, right? And that's through, helping families, impacting families, whether that be saving, estate planning. Obviously, for me, it tugs at my heart because, I lost my dad at 14 years old. This was a man, I think you guys actually helped him buy a building back in the day, right? And that was, he was a man that came from Mexico City at 23 years old, immigrant family. My mom's side from Cuba, right? So first generation here in the States. But hard work wasn't the problem for us, for our family, right? He almost had 100 restaurants, multiple businesses, but had a lack of financial education. So when he passed away, nearly 90% of his estate gone. Wow. Right? We were in probate for about 7 years. It was absolutely catastrophic. And I tell people this every single day, is that I wish I would have had somebody in my field approach my dad, right? To be able to educate them on proper financial planning, estate planning, legacy planning, right? Having a trust. What are the benefits of it? So I'm very passionate about educating other families in the financial sector, right? And that's really what we're, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
And that's what we see a lot of, like a lot of entrepreneurs that we service or building owners in the commercial sector. I sometimes feel that they're not ready for that. Like what is to happen if they pass away, So a lot of these, you have those savvy business owners that already have their financial plans together, but then you have the new entrepreneurs that don't know or don't understand that whole process, which I think it's huge for business owners to understand how that works, because it just secures their family's financial situation for the future.
Yeah, and 100%. I'll even add on to that is that, these business owners that we're working with, they're not just in charge of their families. They're in charge of their employees' families. Yeah. You take on a major responsibility. It's not about us, right? Inky Johnson said it best. It's not about me. It's about them, right? So when you start looking at, and when I approach my business owners like that, like, look, bro, it's not about you. You got to stop thinking it's about you or your business. You got a staff of 100 people, 50 people, 10 people, 2 people. Yeah. Those 2 people have families. Yeah. It's up to you as the leader of your organization to take the initiative to put in health benefits, a retirement plan, maybe even life insurance, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just about, setting it up right and then being savvy with it. So
yeah. And I mean, we had a client where we got them into a commercial space. They were in the forklift service and repair business, set them up in a really nice warehouse in Ontario. So within 9 months of them opening up the business, the owner got cancer, lung cancer. And so he went through the treatments. Well, unfortunately, he didn't have anything in place.
Yeah.
So he was the primary salesperson. He's the one that had all the customer relationships. They had a staff of about 10 people. And so basically the business went down the tubes. And so his wife was left to liquidate all of the equipment that they had, told the employees to go find other jobs. And then we had the job of trying to get them out of their lease so that they wouldn't be stuck with the financial burden for the family to try and pay off this lease. Thankfully, the landlord was willing to work with us, and we got another tenant into the space to take over the lease. But we just saw how that wrecked the entire family and the lives of the employees. Had they had a plan in place, they could have prevented that from having such a catastrophic outcome on their business.
Yeah, and their business could have probably continued,
Yeah.
Or they could have had the opportunity to even sell the business too.
We say it all the time. We hear it all the time too. I should have done this. I should have done that. And I tell people, well, don't shit all over yourself.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's
like that.
It's a fact. 39.5% of Americans at some time in their life will have cancer. That's almost 4 out of every 10 people that we know. And what I'll say with this is, it's better to be prepared when something happens than not to be prepared. And I know that sounds super basic and obvious, but you can't go back in time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'll share something like with you guys that I haven't shared with anybody. My uncle right now has stage 4 cancer. Wow. Just bought a house, has a business. And unfortunately, I was bringing it up to him. Hey, we should look into some type of income protection or living benefits or something to protect you in the case of anything happening to you. You're the main bread maker of your family.
Yeah.
Brushed it off. And, it's unfortunate, right? But I'm passionate about this stuff, guys. And I always tell people, it's like, yeah, financial service is great business. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this to serve people because I don't want people going through what I lived. My family and I, we're still recovering. We just had our first family dinner in over 2 years.
I saw that post that you did on
I just
social
posted
media,
about it the other day.
It's awesome.
It's been almost 13, 14 years now, and we're just now starting to come around. I talked to my brothers and sisters for the first time in who knows how long.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is real stuff that happens.
Yeah.
This is real life.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you will pass on a legacy to your family, good or bad.
Yeah.
You will pass on a legacy.
Yeah.
And so you have control now
Yeah.
to make sure what legacy are you going to pass on.
Yeah.
And so I think making sure that, business owners have that opportunity to make sure that they're covering themselves and their family is so key. I think on the flip side of that is now the work environment has become so competitive. The job market right now. So they have the big thing right now is the great resignation, right? People leaving their jobs.
Everyone wants to be their own boss.
Everyone wants to be their own boss or you want a different work environment. So what you're seeing now is a bunch of companies offering flexible work schedules. And now it's, hey, the employee can now pick, hey, this job has a great 401k. This job has a great, dental and medical plan. So kind of walk us through how you've seen that change in the business and what you're doing for employers.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great topic to kind of touch on briefly. And that's, that's something that we do help a lot of business owners do is set up their employee plans, retirement plans, because like you said, they're 100%, they're very competitive. I will make a little suggestion is don't get too picky. Right? Because if you get too picky, you're going to get left out of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, even if you're an entrepreneur and you're a 1099 employee, independent contractor, I would highly suggest as well. Yeah, you're your own boss. Treat yourself like you have the luxury of saying you're your own boss. So treat yourself like one.
Yeah.
Invest in a retirement plan for yourself. Start setting aside something for retirement because the longer you wait, it's working against you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also benefits as well. Protect your income.
Yeah, it's like my CPA a while back. He was like, do you pay yourself? I'm like, no. He's like, dude. He's like, you're an employee of your own corporation. He's like, you're the employer and you're the employee. So your employer still has to pay you regardless. So he's like, you better open up another account. Your corporation better pay you. You're an employee and you deserve a raise all the time. So I was never trained to do that. But my CPA years ago told me, like, you got to start doing that. So I've been treating my corporation, and I'm their number one employee right now.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that one the hard way.
Yeah.
I remember, never forget, like, it was my first year in personal training, and I was doing great. I was actually training with Adrian. Adrian and I were training back in, I think it was like 2016, 17. And we did really good our first year in training, right? Well, we made a lot of money, but there was something called taxes.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. I didn't think about putting money aside. Yeah. Right. That IRS bill was not fun to pay. So there's something that we help a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners do as well is hedge against taxes.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, not only are we in the biggest, the Great Resignation, we're also in the biggest wealth transfer.
Yeah.
Right. Something that a big talk that we're having right now is that the U.S. is $31 trillion in debt. Right? That could only mean that taxes are going to go up a good amount in the future. Yeah, so how can we hedge against risk? And I know that's the conversation with a lot of business owners as well when we're doing their financial plans or their estate, legacy plans, whatever you want to say, is how can we hedge against the taxes in the future?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think right now, that's why what we're seeing, the movement in the commercial market, is business owners wanting to get themselves into stabilized assets. So if you look across the commercial industry right now, what all the lending conferences are talking about is the strength of the industrial sector. So what they're projecting is that for the next 2 to 5 years, industrial is just going to continue to go up in price. So we're seeing a lot of owners that were maybe on the fence of expanding. They're like, no, let me buy right now. And so, one owner we have, he's selling a 25,000 square foot building. He wants to get into 40 to 50,000 square feet.
So he's doubling up.
Man.
And so he's, awesome. Wanting to expand. And so it's being able to understand what's the best situation to put the client into. Yeah. And I like the way that you talked about it, that you put your client first.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we take to heart when we look at how we service our clients is we don't care about the commission because we know commission will take care of itself if we take care of the client. And what that one client can turn into 10 clients because of the referrals if you take care of that person correctly.
I love that. I love what you say because there's something that I want to touch on, right? And that's going back to the faith piece, right? We were talking about the foundation of how we do business and how that kind of relates. You're going to have two types of entrepreneurs. You're going to have the one that's coming from a place of survival, meaning that they have to make X amount of dollars a month to pay for their overhead. And I get it. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have the entrepreneur that comes from a place of service, right? Jesus was one of those that he came from a place of service.
100,
right?
Yep.
And everyone followed.
And when you do that, it's just an alignment, right? The commission will come. Remember this, guys. It's the mission over the commission.
Yeah.
No, that's the truth. Like the other day, I was looking at trying to make a list of all the people that I serviced this year, right? So as I was looking at all of my transactions, I'm like, wow, this deal, I got these 2 deals from this referral, these 3 deals from this referral, those other 4 deals from this referral. No advertising, no marketing. It's basically just been referrals because again, like what we all do here, we take care of our clients first. Commission's the last thing we think about.
Come.
Yeah.
It'll come. And people can smell that. People can smell when you're trying to chase the commission.
Yeah. And especially right now with what's about to come forth, I think that a lot more people are going to look for people they can trust. I mean, I've been through 2 crazy recessions and I've never changed what I was doing back then. I was still doing real estate where I had a lot of friends that got out of the business, but for me, it was more that my clients trusted me. They kept on feeding me business. So I survived. I could have let me go back to corporate America. But you know what? I believed in myself. I believed in what I was able to do to help others. But I put people first.
I love that.
I put people first. And I'm like, you know what? Even if I don't make anything, I'm going to feel good that I helped someone out. but God's going to pay me back, whenever it's time for him to deliver.
It'll come.
It'll come.
Yeah. He'll deliver.
And I think
100%.
also is having a heart of generosity. And I think to me, like the biggest flex right now is generosity. Like I'm more motivated, like when someone tells me, hey, this is an orphanage that I'm giving towards, or these are some, school kids that we're able to get books for, or these are some people that we're able to build a house for. Yeah. I feel like kind of the identity or what people look at as success is changing during the recession, because we understand that a brand new Ferrari is only as good as the last year model that you got, right? So if that was your hook, okay, well, now it's like you almost have to keep getting a new Ferrari because that became your hook.
Yeah.
But now I'm more motivated by how much can I give?
Yeah. I love that.
And how much can I invest in other people? Because I know that that's going to far outlive me.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you highlight that, Crisante, because unfortunately, I forget who it was. I think it was the CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond maybe a couple months ago. And I just keep playing this image in my head. It came out on the news that he jumped out of a building, committed suicide 100%.
It was like 3 months ago I heard
something like that because his, the company went bankrupt. How many business owners are attaching themselves to tangible things?
Yeah.
Right? His family was inside. He had kids, and I have a couple friends right now that, nothing against Ferraris or nice things.
Yeah.
But I tell people, like, don't identify yourself by these materialistic things, not even your business.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I honestly could say that if I were to lose everything today, I'm okay.
Yep.
Right? It's like I think it's the book of Job, right? In the Bible that
he loses everything.
He loses everything. And he keeps his faith.
Yep.
No matter what. Right? And that's, to me, when I heard that story the first time, I was like, man, I was blown away. And I think that's instantly when I had a paradigm shift. I was like, okay, yeah, this is okay. Like, I don't care. Take it all away. Right? Test me. Because I'm willing to keep my faith in God. Right? And what I'll say to people is continue to, have that mentality. Right? Have that mentality. Have that faith that, you don't need any of the Ferraris or anything crazy to grab people, because generosity, genuineness, that's going to go way further in business and in life and anything that you do.
100%.
And that's something I admire about both of you guys, honestly. Like I could say it now, like I really respect that about you guys, because you guys have always been not flashy at all, right? We know we got it, right? But we're not out there flashing it.
Yep.
And it's you guys are constantly leading through service and generosity and wanting to provide value, and I love that.
For us, it's more about, building value within us and building value with others, So there's moments that I'm talking to people, I'll take an hour, 30 minutes, share information with other agents, other colleagues to see what I can do to help them improve what they're doing,
Yeah.
But it's in reality, it's becoming a more of a service provider.
Yeah.
So I never look at it like, what kind of business can I get from them? My intentions are, I don't want to really help them out. I want to see what I can get out of them. I never think that way.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I can always feel good and say, you know what? I helped someone. I smiled and they smiled back. So that brightened up their day. Right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't know what people go through. We don't know what they're going through in life, but sometimes talking to them to see what you can do to better their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, for us, the reason that we wanted to have you on this podcast is just seeing you from the outside looking in, is seeing the gift that God put inside of you to communicate, to see the passion that you live with and that you're able to come across on your Instagram posts and everything else. And then when I meet you in person, that same energy, that same passion for life is still there. Because there are some people that can put it on for Instagram, but when you meet them in person, it's like a deflated balloon. You're like, where did all of it go?
And the energy levels are like, whoa, hold on, the frequencies are off.
But you've got it in person, and so that shows me that what you have is real. And I think it comes from a connection to God that you have inside of you. But I'm so confident that what you've started on with the World Shakers Conference is just the beginning. You just chipping off the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that's coming that God has put inside of you, and we're excited to be on this path with you. And we're just so glad that you took the time to be on this podcast with us today.
Ah, man, guys, thank you guys. But going back to the World Shake, that was, if I'm being honest, I had one of those moments that we opened it up with, right? And we'll kind of wrap it up with this. Is I was a little intimidated. If I'm being completely honest, I was a little bit fearful. Right, because I'm like mixing business with faith and all these other things. Like, who does that, right? Especially like I'm just 27 years old, just getting into the game. Luckily, I have a lot of amazing mentors around me, and if there's one piece of advice that I could give to an entrepreneur out there that's maybe my age, right, or maybe it doesn't matter how old you are, fear a little bit less, and surround yourself with mentors.
Yeah,
surround yourself with mentors. Invest in mentorship. Because the right mentors, they will continue to pour into you. And I've been very blessed to have amazing mentors around me.
For what I see forthcoming for you, it's like you just created a little snowball effect that's going to become an avalanche pretty soon, Because after I saw some of the posts that you did, which I wasn't able to attend your event, but, I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
I think you did a great job, and I can't wait to see what's to come next.
Thank you, fellas. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
And I think that's something key, is that you stepped out and did it during a recession. And a lot of times what people forget is if your goal doesn't scare you, it's probably not big enough. And so if you want to, during this time of recession, that's what I think for all of us entrepreneurs, if our goal doesn't make us nervous, we probably should increase that goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way you put that. That's some fire right there, because it's true. It's true. Like, get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Get a little uncomfortable. That's where growth happens.
That's how I was taught by other mentors that I had in my life, which they would always tell me, you have to be uncomfortable. You want to succeed in life? Learn to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to strive to getting to the top.
Yeah.
So we always have to be uncomfortable, because if we get too comfortable, we get lazy and we don't end up doing anything.
Well, the flesh, it says in the Bible, right? The flesh it's lazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
Like, get uncomfortable. It's not easy to wake up in the morning, hit the gym.
No.
I mean, you're an early morning workout guy too. Like,
I was struggling, man. I was
struggling bad this morning. I was about to call my boy Steven, that he's right here. And I was like, because he goes to the gym with me 2 times a week in the morning. And I was about to call him this morning and be like, yo, man, I'm staying in. But I was like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah.
I got to get up. You got to get up. Invest, right? Invest that time.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the mentality, like the inner work, the reading of the books, right? Reading of the Bible, like all this work, it's when you go through the down times, the lazy times, when your flesh wants to be lazy. That's when you start to see, okay, this is paying dividends now.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have that mindset,
Yep.
I would have easily stayed in bed. Right? And you could apply that to anything. Recession,
True.
I mean, anything in life.
It's true. Very true.
Invest in your mindset.
All right, so we'll close with this. Stay ambitious, everyone. Thanks for being on this episode.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure having you on the show too.
Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to what's to come. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers to Clatch.